Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before I say more, I tell you that we have interpretation. I will do my part in English and our experts will do their parts in English, but the rest will be fully in Lithuanian. So if you want to speak, ask questions, and also the speakers, I think you all speak in Lithuanian, which is fantastic. We have interpretation, so in case someone doesn't understand me, use it. Do we have to translate this now? Okay, good morning. My name is Jan Geis. I'm Secretary General of EUFORES, the European Forum for Renewable Energy Sources, which is a network of members of parliament in the European Parliament in all national parliaments. And I have very good friends here next to me. We met several times all over Europe already discussing renewables and energy and so on. And we are super, super happy to be back here in your beautiful parliament. We were here 4 years ago, just before you decided your last energy strategy. And it's really by beautiful accident and chance that we are back now when you decide upon the new strategy. And I'm very happy that we can hear about this today. But first of all, let me also thank you, the Parliament, our friends here, the chairman of the committees, and thanks also to the minister for coming and all these experts here, Mr. Poderis, and all of you who came here to discuss today what's the situation of Lithuania in relation to renewable energy, what will be your future plans, and also we will be discussing about what European Commission will do. So we have you here luckily coming in. And before we go into debates, I would like to tell you the background of this. You will see on the agendas next to the EUFORES logo and Parliament logo, the Renewables Networking Platform logo. This is a project that EUFORES has started together with the European Commission, with DG Energy, to roll out the renewable energy policy. So we will go to all national parliaments twice in the next 4 years. So if you allow us, we would even come back in 2-3 years to see where we are. And because Brussels understands we need to talk more to the national and also to the local level to understand what's going on, to learn how Brussels should develop the frameworks and so on. And I think this is it's an amazing exercise, and we are very happy that European Commission is always with us at these meetings, and also usually members of European Parliament. But you see, today there's no member of European Parliament, and the reason is at the moment in Brussels, the institutions negotiate the new energy and climate package, and especially the renewables energy package is in discussion right now. That's why our president, Claude Turmes, could not come today. But he was so sad of this that he said, Jan, I will produce a video. So he produced a video yesterday, a short welcome note, and he sent it to me last night. So we would like to show that to you as a short introduction of the president of EUFORES, member of the European Parliament, and one of the leading figures in shaping the energy policy in Europe. So I asked the technicians if we are ready to start. It's not very long, don't worry. So it's just a short welcome.
2 hours.
Yeah, let's go. 2 hours, yes. Blockbuster.
Good morning, dear Mr. Mazeka. Good morning, dear Mr. Sinkevicius. Good morning, dear honorable members of the Seimas, the Lithuanian Parliament. And also good morning to the Minister, to dear Digimantas. I'm deeply sorry not to be able to be with you today, and I'm deeply sorry not to be with you next week on Friday when my government, when my Grand Duke will join Lithuania. The energy union which we will discuss today is about energy security, it's about geopolitics, it's about the economy, and it's also about environment. Notably also the possible threat from nuclear reactors which are not safe and which are standing too close to the borders of a country. When it comes to energy security, we have, I think, a real success story between Lithuania and Europe over the last years, thanks to BEMIP, to European funds, but also thanks to the determination and the vision of your policymakers. Gas is now no more a threat from Russia, from Mr. Putin, from Gazprom against Lithuania. You are now in a situation where, in the combination of EU investments, plus the very courageous LNG terminal which you did in Klaipėda, now you are getting more and more free on gas, and that's a good thing. And I hope that we can continue this success story on gas, and I would be really pleased if, with your neighboring brothers in Estonia and in Latvia, you could agree among yourselves on where we could put a next bigger LNG terminal, because I know how important that is for your gas security supply. Be aware that energy efficiency policy and renewable energy policy is a very important part of the energy security agenda. And we got recently a prize for very good European energy efficiency policy and very good European renewable policy. The prize came from an unexpected part. It came from Moscow. In Mr. Putin's economic security document from May this year, there is a paragraph where the Russian government says the biggest threat for the Russian economy, or one of the biggest threats for the Russian economy, is European energy efficiency policy, which diminishes the import dependency of Europe to Russian gas. And he mentions then also, Mr. Putin, our efforts on renewables. So thank you, Mr. Putin, for congratulating us on our energy efficiency and renewable policy. And I want us now also, after 2020, to continue with that success story. More renovation of buildings means less dependency of Mr. Putin, and it means less energy poverty. More renovation of buildings means also more jobs. More renewables in Europe means less dependency on imports from Russia, and it means also more economic wealth. And what I want you to discuss is also, Lithuania has a success story on renewables, but I think when I see the statistics, when I see the potential, you could even be better. You could do better. And I hope that when Zygmantas is signing the agreement next week with Luxembourg on this transfer of renewables from Lithuania to Luxembourg, where Luxembourgish taxpayers are paying for part of the Lithuanian renewable investments in order to be able to fulfill our Luxembourgish binding renewable energy target. See this as a starting point. Lithuania with its woods, Lithuania with its water, Lithuania with its winds can be a net exporter of renewables. So I hope that this is the beginning of a success story, and I can promise you that I helped in getting this idea up and running between Luxembourg and Lithuania, and I will help you to have other deals with other European countries. So that would be my messages to you. I hope that you have a good meeting, and I promise you, one day, but not very far from this, I will come to Lithuania because I want to better understand your success story, and I want to better even work in future with you to make Lithuania and Europe together in energy a success. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay, so thanks a lot. That was the short introduction of our president. And I would like to hand over now to Kęstutis Mažeika, chairman of the Committee on Environment Protection, to welcome us. And also, again, thanks for hosting us at this event, you and Virginijus. So, up to you.
Taigi, ačiū.
Thank you very much for such an excellent introduction. Welcome to the Parliament. I'm pleased to see such a large audience. If you feel comfortable, feel free to sit down at the table. First of all, I would like to thank the guests.
I'd like to thank our guests for the initiative to organize already the second workshop in Lithuania. Well, in fact, as our chair has mentioned, we had a similar discussion 4 years ago in this particular hall. Therefore, it will be very interesting to assess today what has already been achieved, what has changed, what new challenges are in front of us. I think that it is high time for us today to speak about prospects of renewable energy, because we'll soon have the new energy strategy to be submitted to the Seimas. I hope that the Minister of Energy will introduce certain ideas regarding with the new energy strategy. I'm very happy that this discussion is attended by a number of experts who are well known in the energy sector. I'm also very happy that we have representatives from municipalities, and in particular from Kaunas municipality. I'm very happy that we have representatives from the European Commission who will introduce the experience of European countries, who will talk about the perspectives of and potential of the renewable energy and sustainable energy. Well, I'm not going to talk about the Lithuanian potential in the renewable energy sector, because this will be addressed by the Minister of Energy and maybe some other keynote speakers. But I'd like to tell to the colleagues who have arrived to Lithuania about the structure of the parliament and who's responsible for what. According to the statute of the Seimas of the Republic of Lithuania, the Committee on Economics, chaired by Virginijus Sinkevičius, deliberates all general matters related to energy, that is, draft laws, strategies, parliamentary scrutiny issues. Also, we have a very important Energy Commission in the Seimas, which is headed by Mr. Virgilijus Poderys. It is an additional committee, and this commission deals with matters related to parliamentary scrutiny and draft laws. The Committee on Environment Protection, which is chaired by myself, under the statute of the Seimas, is the lead committee when it comes to the deliberation of renewables and alternative energy sources. So as you see, our field of competence is a bit narrower, because we have to acquire a much better understanding of the field and to relate this to climate change inflicted problems. We also have to look for the most optimal solutions to those problems. During this term of office of the Seimas, Virginijus Sinkevičius and me went to the EUFORUS organized interparliamentary meeting in Malta. We have looked into the problems. I am very happy about the cooperation among parliaments, and I'd like to wish fruitful discussions for this workshop, and I hope that at the very end of the meeting we will have very good outcomes. So thank you once again, and have a nice conference.
So thanks a lot, Kęstutis. I would like to invite now the Minister of Energy, Žygimantas Vaičiūnas, to talk about the new strategy which has come out or is just about to come out. And we're really curious to hear what's going on here and what is your big success story.
Minister,
Minister, before you speak, I would like to mention that we have a recording, so if you have any questions, please speak to the microphone on it. You have microphones at every table, and there is interpretation on offer as well, so you have headphones at your service. Have a good debate. Thank you very much for the floor. I'm happy to hear this interpretation, and that's why I will speak in Lithuanian. It's an excellent opportunity to speak about renewables and to present the energy strategy of Lithuania in this context. The strategy is drafted for the government, and Hopefully, in this context, today we will soon be in a position to move with a strategy to the committees. We had an intensive period of coordination behind us. For 3 months, we've been involved in debates with a market of renewables and other companies, as well as the public. We had the opinions and consultations resulted in the conclusion that the renewables sector has a lot of prospects in Lithuania. We can be very happy with the attainments we have so far attained, and in fact, the success story you've mentioned is important, but on the other hand, the development now has been suspended because we need a new strategy and new guidelines. We need specific targets for renewables, and in essence, I will present the entire strategy in corpore, but I thought maybe I should concentrate on renewables, but in fact I changed my plan because in the strategy renewables occupy an important part. Green energy guideline is a main focus of the strategy. Let me move on to the strategy. There's nothing new as far as the general guidelines are concerned. The energy union, including competition, energy security, green energy, and energy efficiency, as well as innovation and energy progress. This is the area where we have reached a lot, and we should use this, both in cooperation with other countries in the EU and in cooperation with countries outside the EU. We are talking here about the export of renewables and other technologies. As far as competitiveness is concerned, in energy, for industry and for all consumers, competitiveness is crucial. In this chapter, advanced power market is of huge importance. Power market design is hugely debated in the EU right now, and this is where we can project the development of renewables, because it's only through an advanced Lithuanian market that we can achieve a balanced development of renewables. In our country, we have a problem with non-implemented obligations, such as regulated electricity prices. We should move on to a liberal market, a functioning liberal market, and the transition should be smooth so that consumers don't suffer. The benefits in the long term will include the deregulated market. A second important guideline is the digitalization of the energy market. We have many popular terms here, including smart meters and smart calculation. All consumers will be allowed to govern the demand, and this will allow using the hugest potential when the demand is highest. As for industry, the pricing is not the best for the industry. And if we compare the competitive environment with the regional competitors, the energy price in the industry, for the industry in Lithuania, is far higher. For our industry to compete with the neighboring energy producers, we need a better environment. We heard from the European Parliament member that energy efficiency increase is the main measure to increase competitiveness. In this area, we also have a backlag compared to the objectives and insofar as the housing stock and public buildings renovation is concerned. We have a lot of potential. 70% of efficiency improvement could come from the housing stock, because 70% of the housing stock are using energy inefficiently. By 2030, we plan to improve energy efficiency at least 1.5 times. This means that by 2030, we need to economize on 12,000 terawatt hours, and these are huge figures. Several weeks ago, we agreed with the energy companies on energy objectives, energy efficiency objectives. I mean, this will allow us to save additional quantities of energy, not at the cost of consumers, but first and foremost, the energy companies will be in charge, including the system operators. If we take the heating sector now, we have two main problems there, including regulation. We have too much regulation, in fact. But on the other hand, we can pride ourselves on our achievements in the use of renewables. In this area, we are quite advanced compared to our neighbors. The gas prices in 12 and 13 led to a movement to renewables from gas. We moved on to biomass in 2012, and well, in 2012, in fact, we used 70% of gas and 30% of well, in fact, now the situation has completely changed. In 2050, we plan to reach 20% improvement in renewables in the heating sector. In 2050, we want to go to 100% use of renewables in heating. It's impossible, probably, and it's not the most effective measure, because 23% would be the best, but still the vision is very clear.
Kalbant apie energetinį saugumą, kurie...
As far as energy security is concerned, our target is, in cooperation with the Baltic countries, to synchronize our grid with the European grid by 2025. By 2019, we need isolated testing of this grid, and the Kruonis water power plant needs a new unit which will contribute to development of renewables and which will contribute to balancing the use of renewables in our energy mix. This demonstrates the importance and synergy between renewables and energy security. As for the gas sector, natural gas sector, we have an LNG terminal which ensures alternative supply. Other projects include a link with Poland by 2021, a link with Estonia and Finland by 2019, and this will allow us to integrate into the gas market of the continental Europe. As for energy security, again, we have to speak about the long-term supply alternatives. This is where we are going to move on ahead. Let's move on to green energy. This is the main focus of our today's conference. There are two main aspects in this regard. We need to set tasks for 2025. I'm sorry, for 2020. Maybe the targets will not be too ambitious, but we need not stop. Secondly, we need objectives for 2030. If we speak about objectives for 2020, how much additional supported power do we need in order to ensure there's a balanced development and there's good development of renewables without additional burden on consumers? Wind and solar energy should include the greatest development and expansion by 2020. So far, we have bioenergy of 500 megawatts. We propose 270 megawatts in the strategy. That's almost what's now. In solar, we plan to increase the output to 120 megawatts out of 70 that we have. In water energy, we will remain at the same level because, in fact, we have limitations due to environmental limitations. That's why we don't have great plans for water energy. I'm speaking about megawatts both in green energy and minor energy. The priority is for green minor energy sources by 2020. This is the potential we have not pulled into, and that's why we have ambitious objectives in this area, so that the bureaucratic load is minimized and adequate pricing ensures profitability of the sector and development of the sector in the long term. I am speaking about energy-producing consumers. This is an area developed throughout Europe, and by 2020 to 2030, this should be one of the key sources for generating renewable energy. If we take a look at 2030 and our objectives for 2030, we intend to promote wind energy. So far, by 2020, wind energy will account for 40% of renewables. By 2030, this would account for 55% and 65% by 2050. Water energy stands second in this rank. The development will stay stable. Biomass and solar energy stands on the in third place of development. Is transport going to develop? Oh yes, of course. The potential has not been pulled in well enough, so our target is for renewables to account for 10% in transport by 2020. I mean that we have a lot to do because the current figure is 4%, so we need to do a lot to reach 10%. By 2030, renewables share should account for 15% of the transport, including the public sector. Public transport is the area where government is, in fact, in the power to design the strategy. So renewables and clean energy should be promoted. By 2030, we need to decrease the number of fuel-fired transport vehicles in towns by 50%. Finally, innovation and energy advancement and progress. I'm referring to export of technology here. Apart from the technology that is a development in process of development, including LNG competences, we have a potential for solar and minor biomass technologies. For these measures and tools, we intend to accord a lot of attention in Central and Eastern Europe. We are still in the first steps of development, both in technology and in terms of platforms. The biomass market is under development. We need to share this practice with the Western European countries, and we need to involve ourselves in projects with Denmark and France and other Western European countries. If we address the system, we can see that we are moving on from an energy security to an independent country energy-wise, so we orient ourselves towards production. These objectives are in line with our today's infrastructure, such as power links within Nordic countries, gas links. Of course, gas links will have to be terminated and by that time their services out of date. We will move on to other sources of energy. So, in fact, the renewables will be the dominating source of energy. What are the percentages? By 2030, we will focus on strategic planning. 45% of renewables in electricity, 90% in heating, 15% in transport. As for local production, this is the size right now, and I'm referring to the 2020 table. I believe that renewables will become a competitive source of energy in the market. The bids and tenders in Europe demonstrate that the price of windmill-produced energy is nearing the market price. One of the most important sectors is the minor energy, as I've mentioned, such as the opportunities for customers to produce their own energy. We have a few consumers like that. We should increase that share by 2030 to 30%. It seems ambitious, but it matches well with the model and ensures profitability. We can and return on investment. This would be it. We have energy security targets, synchronize ourselves with the Western European grid, promote energy efficiency, and minor energy sources. Thank you.
So thanks a lot, Minister, and I must really say I'm really impressed how things move here, and I really hope that you continue bringing that energy also to the European Council, because at the moment, let's say, there is a slight need of motivation to be more ambitious like you are in your country, and it's just amazing to see that, and also to hear that energy independence and also connecting with your neighbors go hand in hand. That it makes you freer if you connect up, if you go into regional development. I must say we were 3 weeks ago in Estonia in the parliament with our interparliamentary meeting, and there we discussed the Baltic Sea integration. I really would like to hear in the discussion later on also how you see this and also the connecting in the grids. But now I hand over now to Virginijus Sinkevičius, chairman of the Committee on Economics, to tell us what your perspective is where sustainable energy would go.
Thank you, Jan, and I would like to welcome everyone here at the Parliament. I'm very happy to see that we have a great pool of experts here today by the table. I'd like to thank our duo Rasas, both Rasas, for organizing this and happening it here. I'm grateful that we have our chairman of the Committee on Energy. He's a great expert on energy and the best probably we have in the Parliament. So discussion is going to be deep and fruitful today. From my side, I would like to go briefly where we stand today here and where we're going and what are the goals. The minister introduced it quite well, but let's see how it looks from the parliamentary perspective. So I would like to start probably from 2009. Why 2009? Because in 2009, Lithuania faced a major challenge. So the Ignalina power plant was finally shut on December 31st. The second block was also shut down. The first block was shut in 2004 and the second in 2009. What it means for Lithuania, first of all, it meant that we are becoming from energy exporting country, we became an energy importer country. With shutting down the nuclear power plant, of course, it brings many challenges to, as you see, to our energy consumption. And Ignalina power plant was one of the most powerful in the world. One block could produce about 1,500 megawatts. So it was producing around 70% of Lithuanian energy. Since that, of course, as a result, we had to change our national strategy, which, of course, first of all called for energy security and supply diversification. As the minister mentioned before, our goals are extremely ambitious. Sometimes our decision based on energy are not major argument is not economical argument, but of course our security argument. And for Lithuania, it's extremely important to desynchronize and become a country which can, fully produce energy for itself. So in 2011, Lithuania committed for the European Strategy 2020 to increase its shares of renewable energy, of course, to reduce the CO2 emissions, increase energy efficiency. So this way, the sustainable energy step by step become a part of Lithuanian energy mix. And from later, you will see how it was growing, and I think we did some terrific job. Today, 20% of already gross inland fuel and energy consumption consists of a renewable energy. And as you can see, in 2005, we were at 17%, and Lithuania committed to increase the share of renewable energy to 23% by 2020. Today, we have already reached 26%, and we can forecast that we are going to reach around 30% by 2020. So we are ahead of our schedule. Of course, there is some work to do.
As target for 2030?
Of course, we'll talk about it later. So renewable policy was adopted mainly in 2011, and of course you can see that the curve is going up, and the final consumption is steeply going up. However, the new challenges may occur, and we can see that in 2016 we have the curve slightly going down, but I think the government together with the parliament reacted to it, and I think we'll have a curve going back upwards again shortly. And newly adopted energy efficiency law should take an effect for such occurrences. If you would see how green are our sectors and how it looks, so the worst is of course the transport, and I think there is a few reasons for that. First of all, we still have quite poorly developed electricity car maintenance stations, so we still have to work on it. Secondly, electric cars, they're still coming into Lithuanian market, but it's still I would say a premium goods for our customers. With the electricity, it looks slightly better, but the best thing and the biggest progress of sustainable energy development was made, of course, in district in heating with the biomass. With the electricity, it's probably worth mentioning that it's mainly produced from our wind and hydro, together with biomass. I'm grateful to know that from, all the statistics, if you look, that the Baltic countries are leading. Of course, we'll let Estonia and Latvia to be ahead. So for us, it's a bigger challenge, to work harder, to improve. But I think looking at the Central and Eastern Europe, those countries who joined the EU in 2004, Baltic countries are ahead, and Lithuania are among the leaders. So our ambitions, of course, for sustainable energy are not getting less, and major things, of course, to keep the progress up are mainly two documents that shows that we are defined with our ambitions, that we're going to go ahead. And of course, first of all is the government's plan for government's work program approved in March. And secondly, the new national strategy, energy strategy. Minister introduced the major milestones, major goals of it. And I think you will all agree that it's extremely ambitious. I'm glad the way ministry it actually brings to the parliament. So far it's been, it was open for public hearings. I know that discussions with the experts are still going on, and the ministry is open for remarks from all the experts in Lithuania. So I think we are finally going to have definitely a national strategy which is decided by the whole nation, so by the national experts. If you look at the strategies, two strategies before, the one you mentioned 4 years ago, they all included nuclear power plant. This strategy is focusing mainly on renewables. So government tasks by 2020, so probably it's two major tasks planned by 2020. First of all, of course, further increase installed capacity of renewable energy. So far we have 18 megawatts, and the target is, of course, is much larger, 360 megawatts planned as a result. Wind energy development and waste cogeneration power plants are also planned. And second, of course, is the development of distributed generation, aiming that 2% of all electricity users would become prosumers with renewable energy, as the minister mentioned. So it's by 2020, and by 2030 we're already looking at the much larger percentage. Talking about our new energy strategy briefly, of course, if in 2012 major goals were energy security and competitiveness, ambition for 2017 has changed. Of course, we're looking at the Paris Agreement, at the policies in the EU, with the, of course, decrease of CO2 emissions, circular economy principles, and a new strategy must be adopted this year. Probably it will come to your parliament for hearings this year, but I guess we'll see how it goes with the hearings, but might adopt either end of this year or beginning of the next year. But it seems that an interesting discussion definitely will be at the parliament. And interesting to notice that the change of challenges that Lithuania have to tackle, of course, it's mainly focusing on our energy security. And the new strategy have to take into consideration, we have to note that the way also the EU is taking the path. I would like to end probably my presentation on a positive note with very ambitious plan highlighted in our new energy strategy. It's similar slide you saw at the presentation our minister showed. So, of course, while the Parliament still awaits for the hearings of the project for the new strategy, it seems that it's going to be a very green in the longer perspective. And you can see that we're filling 100% at the electricity and district in heating. So this is where I end. I wish you a fruitful discussion, and I hope that it will bring also positive suggestions for still developing new strategy for Lithuanian, energy security. Thank you.
So thanks a lot, Virginijus, and I can really tell you this is also coming back to Brussels. The motivation that you have here is really outstanding, and we should really tell our friends there all this is possible actually. And in this respect, I'm also very, very happy that Arnoldas Prankevicius, head of the European Commission representation here in Lithuania, has come on board yesterday very quickly. Higher ranks in the Commission have made this possible, and you changed your agenda heavily to come here. And also for the European Commission in Brussels, I have to say they are so super busy now with preparing this energy package with all the different parts of it that they have difficulties to leave Brussels. So we're very happy, Arnoldas, that you're here now, and I give you the floor to explain a little bit what are the plans of the Commission and the Brussels institutions beyond 2020. What will come up in the policies, and is this in line with what we are planning here? So, Arnoldas.
Thank you very much, Jan, and it's a great pleasure to be this morning in the Parliament at this very important conference. Indeed, the Commission usually acts quick, is available, and is always trying to be transparent and definitely present, especially in the parliamentary discussions, which are at the heart of any democratic process. I think it is very symbolic that we discuss energy union and renewable energies here in the Lithuanian Parliament, the place which and the country which has been one of at the origins of the very idea, the original intent of the energy union, definitely together with Poland and several other Eastern European member states. Lithuania has always been the champion of energy independence and the common internal and external European energy policy. Therefore, it's also very, as you said, revealing to see that Lithuania, also in the renewable sector, has very big ambitions and is leading also by example, which is good news for all of us. To complement the presentation of Minister Vaičiūnas and Chairman Sinkevičius that focused on Lithuanian strategy to be discussed now in the Parliament, I'll give more the viewpoint of the Commission on the overall EU renewable energy policy after 2020. Well, it's not an overstatement to say that we are undergoing an important transition in energy, and renewables is playing a key role here. And that is no coincidence, because the renewable sector offers many benefits in our mind. Just to illustrate a few of them. First, renewables means jobs and growth. As you know, this is the first and most important priority of the Juncker's Commission, jobs and growth. And already today, renewable energy sector accounts for almost 1.1 billion jobs and a turnover of 150 billion euros in the EU. Secondly, in terms of energy security, and you've mentioned, for this region, this is a key and most important aspect. Thanks to renewables, the EU saved 16 billion euros on fossil fuel imports only in 2015. And these savings are projected to approach 60 billion euros by 2030. So what Mr. Claude Turmes told us in the morning is very true. Through renewables, we also are increasing EU's independence, and definitely this is not very good news for some of the suppliers outside of the EU that used to use energy policy for political reasons. And third, in terms of decarbonization, for example, just in 2015, the gross savings in greenhouse gas emissions throughout the use of renewables was the equivalent of the emissions of Italy. big country, important, the fourth economy in the Eurozone. So that gives you the amount, the ampleur, the size of the process that we're talking about. So Europe has been and is a global leader in renewable energy. And let me assure you, we intend to stay. Thanks to a clear and strong framework, which includes a target of 20% of renewable energy in the EU in 2020, translated into national binding targets for member states, we have turned renewable technologies such as solar and onshore wind from niche technologies into central players in the power sector. In 2016, over 75% of all new electricity capacity in Europe was renewable. Now, that's already quite significant. Our companies, and many company representatives are here today at the table, are delivering high-quality renewable energy sources projects in Europe and elsewhere. Our scientists are at the forefront of new innovations and technologies, materials, and digitalization. Europe is also leading in the way for citizen engagement and local projects. But that is, of course, not the time to rest, and that is for many reasons. The Paris framework, the Paris Climate Agreement framework, requires all of us to step up our game when it comes to renewable deployment. Europe will need a strong framework to deliver its fair share to the Paris process. But it is not only about Europe. As you know, it is also other economies that will also need to deliver. And here, of course, the biggest challenge for the European Union, and that is no secret, is to reconvince our American partners to commit and to be committed to the Paris commitments, which are so important for this planet. This represents huge opportunities for all of us, and not only for citizens, but also for industry. At the same time, Europe is facing a fierce and growing global competition for renewable energy manufacturing. Overall, Europe needs a robust and stable regulatory framework for renewables to underpin the energy transition, both to continue to attract the necessary investments at home and to take advantage of the growth opportunities that are opening up around the world. And that is why, as you mentioned, the Commission adopted in November last year a crucial package of legislative proposals, the so-called Clean Energy for All Europeans package. Renewable energy and the global leadership of the EU in this field is a central element of this package, which also aims at putting energy efficiency first, and offering a fair deal for consumers. This package will help us meet our ambitious 2030 energy and climate goals. First of all, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by at least 40% below 1990 levels. Secondly, achieve a binding 30% energy efficiency target at the EU level. And third, increase the share of renewable energy consumption to at least 27%. As mentioned by the Minister, Lithuania is already, 1% pretty much to that target, no? 26 at the moment? Yeah, so, very little to go. Let's focus on what we are proposing to further promote the development of renewables. Our main proposal is the revision of the Renewable Energy Directive. This revision will create the enabling framework for member states to unlock their renewable potential and reach collectively a share of at least 27% in the final energy consumption by 2030 in a cost-effective way. The main measures introduced in the revised Renewable Energy Directive are the following. First is the target achievement. We establish an EU binding renewable energy target and the collective obligation for member states to achieve it. We propose the use of the 2020 national targets as baseline to build on the progress achieved with the current framework from 2021 onwards. In the electricity sector, we establish general principles for member states in designing support schemes to facilitate a cost-effective, market-oriented and Europeanized approach and to avoid changes to existing support which compromise the feasibility of projects already in place. We also propose cost reduction measures through simplification of administrative procedures. That's something always expected from the Commission, to simplify the procedures, including creating one-stop shops and a time limit for the renewable energy permit granting process, similar to the TNE regulation, as well as a simple notification procedure for small-scale installations, which the Minister mentioned, and under certain circumstances for the repowering of existing renewables plants. Now, in heating and cooling sector, we ask member states to endeavor to boost the decarbonization of the heating and cooling systems by increasing by 1 annual percentage point the share of renewable energy in heating and cooling. In transport sector, we introduce an obligation on European transport fuel suppliers to sell a gradually increasing share of renewable and low-emission fuels, including renewable electricity and advanced biofuels, from 1.5% in 2021 to 6.8% by 2030. With the fuel supply obligation, we specifically promote advanced biofuels, whose share in the supply of transport fuels is to be gradually increased from 0.5% in 2021 to 3.6% by 2030. We also propose a gradual reduction of the contribution of food-based biofuels towards the calculation of the EU 2030 renewable target, with a limit starting at 7% in 2021 and going down to 3.8% in 2030. As regards empowering consumers, that means all of us, we enable consumers to self-consume, generate, store, and sell electricity without undue restrictions, as well as being fairly remunerated for the electricity they feed into the grid. We recognize energy communities and their participation in the market. And finally, as regards energy sustainability criteria, we propose simplified and strengthened sustainability criteria for agriculture, biomass used for energy. That means biofuels in transport and biomass in heat and power. We also introduce new sustainability criteria for forest biomass. We believe that this revised renewables directive, which I've run through quickly, incorporates a balanced set of measures across the electricity, heating, and cooling, and transport sectors, giving regulatory certainty and improved conditions for investment in renewables. It is a crucial legislative proposal to deliver on the EU political priority of becoming, as I've mentioned, the world's #1 in renewables, and contributes to putting consumers at the center of the energy union. However, we cannot forget that the revision of the Renewables Directive has been prepared in close coordination with the Market Design Initiative. The Market Design Initiative, again, that the Minister mentioned in his speech, and the Energy Union Governance Proposal. So let me also very briefly mention about them. The Market Design Initiative aims to build electricity markets which are fit for the integration of increasing shares of renewables, and that send the right price signals for investment in an adequate capacity or demand response. Well-integrated short-term markets and enhanced flexibility in the power system are crucial for integrating cost-effective renewables in the Union system. The Energy Union Governance Regulation has a twofold objective. First, to set up a robust governance system in order to deliver on the Energy Union objectives, and in particular the 2030 targets for energy and climate. And secondly, to streamline, simplify, and integrate all existing planning, reporting, and monitoring obligations to ensure coherence and reduce administrative burden in line with the better regulation principles. Better regulation, which also is one of the key objectives of the Commission, streamlined by Vice President Timmermans. The whole package is being now discussed, as mentioned by you, in the European Parliament and in the Council. We are confident that both institutions will agree on an ambitious policy and will reach an agreement. Europe needs to make the right choices now. Shifting to a low-carbon economy is a challenge, but with the right policies and enabling actions along with a good regulatory framework, the economic health and environmental benefits will prevail. The falling cost of cleaner new forms of energy, a strong EU climate policy, and the emergence of new technologies can help to reset the EU's energy policy in the right direction. Secure, sustainable, competitive, affordable energy for every European citizen. I thank you for your attention.
So thanks a lot, Arnoldas. And now I would like to hand over to Virgilius Poderis, Chairman of Energy Commission, as I heard, the expert on energy. So very curious to hear what you see. What are the challenges and opportunities on renewables?
Dėkui, pirmininkė, ir ačiū už galimybę kalbėti tokioj.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the possibility to talk at such an interesting conference. We've heard the first keynote speeches, and they were very fundamental, comprehensive. Since my presentation is the last one before the discussion, so I will raise certain questions to have a harmonious transition to a fruitful discussion. So renewable energy is, when we talk about renewable energy, we have wind in mind first and foremost. Apart from the new national energy strategy, we have to put wind and solar energy into a certain context. This context, both in the seimas and in our commission, is seen as a geostrategic objective, and we have to disconnect from the Russian system. And within this context, our commission deliberates the future development of wind energy, because when disconnecting from the Russian system, we have to deliberate on the reliability of the future system. So my question to the minister and to other drafters of the strategy is how reliably we can expand the wind energy by 2020. This is a question which is interesting for the science, and it has to be formulated very clearly in order to come up with the answer. So, well, we have to talk about not only the 2020 or 2030, we have to speak about the years 2025, which is the target of our synchronization with the continental European networks. So this is the first question. As the enthusiast of the green energy, I have to understand, and we all understand, that we have to join the continental European networks. We fulfill the green targets, as the president of Euroforest has just mentioned in his video address. I'd like to remind you all, according to the Association of Wind Energy of Europe, the development of wind energy is the biggest one in comparison to Europe. I saw the slides provided by this association in autumn, so we are on the right track. We have developed our wind capacity rather well, but wind energy is not reliably regulated, and we have to perceive wind energy in the context of reliability, because in 2025 we will leave the Russian system and we will have to join the continental European network. There is yet another question, which is related to the development of biofuels in district heating. Currently, 2/3 of heating is produced from green sources, and our target is 90% by 2030. But we have to look at those targets in the context of 2025. How much reliable energy generation we will have by 2025? Will this be the biomass, as we could understand from the slides of the energy minister from the presentation on the national energy strategy? So how reliably, how much of reliable energy generation we will have in 2025. Majority, most of you don't know, but during that time, we will have to demonstrate our capacity to operate as an island. Therefore, we have to ask whether the development of biofuels in heating goes in line with the generation of clean energy and the gas cogeneration. This is another question that will be important for us. We also have to remember the wind energy, because engineers already say that the wind energy can be regulated and that frequencies can be maintained in the network because technologies are advancing. But we are still in the year 2017, therefore we have many questions. As far as solar energy is concerned, We have to think about the generation of solar energy by our consumers. This summer we adopted the law which opens the door to the 100 megawatts of distributed capacities. And we have questions for our companies, and in particular to the distribution system operators, whether they are ready to change their business models, whether they are ready to change the possibilities for the consumers, for prosumers to join in the network. The monopoly of network in Lithuania changes only following the pressure from the Ministry of Energy, from the Parliament, or from the government. But we have to be sure that companies change proactively. I also noticed that there are some representatives from the Commission of Energy Price Control Commission. So the question to them will be regarding monopoly. Concerning transport, the European Commission has dealt with the green transport problems. And we have noted in the margins who is responsible in the state for the area of transport and for making the transport sector greener. In all those political documents, we all agree on that those targets and the slogans are very positive ones. But let's have a look once again. Because it seems that Vilnius municipality this year is buying, or I'm not sure whether they have not already bought, diesel buses for the city. So someone has to own, to be the ownership of the responsibility. Whether this is the Ministry of Energy, whether this is the Parliament, someone has to take the responsibility. Mr. Arnoldas Pranskevičius has rightly noted that sustainable energy means growth in jobs. And I wonder whether the state could contribute to the development. Well, I see Mr. Mačiulis, a representative of businesses. Well, we know that in Lithuania we have developed the production of solar panels, but we have to look even more forward and to discuss the directions towards which the businesses have to expand. Maybe the state can contribute. Maybe we can develop roofs that generate energy from the sun. So, well, this might seem as a science fiction, but, for example, why not someone could produce some photovoltaic tiles for the roof? This might contribute to the growth of jobs and to export. Mr. Chair, I'll stop at that. This was an introduction to the discussion, so I'll finish at that. Thank you.
So thanks a lot, Virgilius. I think that's very interesting. Also, your last point. I mean, the Americans start doing it with Tesla tiles for the roofs, but why should only they do it and not us here in Europe, huh? And keep the jobs here, actually? So now I would like to open the floor to discussion with all of you. Please raise hands. Tell us who you are, from where you come, and ask questions to the board, and we have about 45 minutes to the coffee break. So I would collect a few, and then we make a round probably. I think that's the best way. So we start here.
Yes,
My name is Martynas Nagevičius. I represent the Confederation of Renewables in Lithuania, and I'm president of the Confederation. I have many questions to the energy package, but I don't want to take too much of your time. I will have more time later to do that. I have a question related to 2050. When we speak about 2030 to 2050, it's clear that in 2050 it's quite difficult to make forecasts because it's quite subjective. We don't know what technology will be available there then. Balancing technologies, accumulation technologies may change. So these figures are quite relative. What's the change between the penultimate version and the ultimate version, when we had 100% renewables in energy mix, and now it's only 80%. Psychologically, it's a huge change, even though in figures that's not a huge one. Energy Ministry no longer has 100% belief in renewables by 2050. What made you make the change? What made you make a step back?
Kaip supratau, man klausimas, tai...
Thank you for your question. I agree that in 2050 we find it difficult to say what technologies will be available. The logic behind our guesswork was that regardless of the technology, decentralization will dominate the market. Our infrastructure, including the links that we have at that time, by that time will be outdated and will have to either be changed by and replaced by new links if we remain in the integration with the Nordic countries, or else we should focus more on our internal production. So, of course, the guidelines are subjective, but it's important to have a guideline, to have a vision. As for percentage and change, we consulted the Lithuanian Energy Institute and looked into the variables and attainability and feasibility of the objectives, as well as the costs. We could provide you with more details in person, but in general, our vision has the percentage that we've claimed, but on the other hand, based on the forecasts, the percentage figures may dwindle. Vision differs from forecasts and predictions. Under predictions, production could be lower, but the main guideline still remains the same. We focus on internal production, internal generation, with renewables as the largest share of it. Thank you. I believe the ministry is wise in telling that they don't know what happens in 30 years from now, in 50 years from now. We have green energy. We will have green energy in 2050. I believe that's wise. We can check up on that wisdom by cooperating with the American Energy Information Agency, which has lots of experience in predicting technology and prices. We can see statistics there as well. They have fundamental calculations, and if you are interested, the statistics are a source of knowledge. So the ministry is right in saying they don't know. Green energy will still remain here, but whether it will account for 100% generation is still a question. The International Energy Agency usually has an error on the downside, saying that renewables would increase at a lower percentage than it does. So we should instead put a figure of 120. Solar Energy Association, Vytautas Mačiulis. Renewables is a complex matter. I'm happy to see experts in economy, heads of Energy Commission and Environment Committee. This will translate into good cooperation. If we go into the governmental level, ambitious plans account for Energy Ministry. However, there's a lack. The support for sustaining these objectives will have to come from the Ministry of Environment and the Fund of Environment Protection and the Ministry of Economy. There are plans for the Ministry of Agriculture to support its farmers. So I wonder if members of parliament would advise the government to establish a coordination body for liaising and coordination, so that the pricing commission should also take part in the game. How do you intend to implement the ambitious plans? I mean, there's a lack of coordination. I'd like to hear your comment. I'm not an expert on support funding, but I will give you my own experience. I was experienced with Madam Virginia Vindiriene. We're focused on housing stock renovation and energy efficiency. A lot depends on aspects, because some of the aspects are put into the sphere of competence of one institution, and the other sector depends on another institution. But the general picture usually is the right one. This is a Byzantine type institutional structure. Everyone seems to say we have very good proposals. We want renovation to go in parallel with engineering innovations, such as renovation of the heating points, heating units, and so on. So at the level of ideas, everyone understands that, but how do we liaison? Whom do we liaison with? Whom do we coordinate with? So this is the lesson to us as MPs, to come back to improving the constitutional, the institutional structure. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but at least I shared my concerns. In continuation of what has been said by my colleague, I would like to contribute that the experience with the renovation of the housing stock is the kind of experience we should follow up with and follow suit, because end consumers have to have a single shop mechanism, the one shop stops, so that the consumers don't need to address a number of institutions. They should come to a single shop stop, find all the information, and the entire mechanism should work just like that. We are working in that direction, in fact. The Committee on Environment, the Committee on Economics, the head of Energy Commission are all represented here. So this signifies we're at the good beginning, at least at the top of the structure. We're trying to coordinate action, and if we are good enough, we will reach the objective sooner or later. Vidmantas Jankauskas, a professor from Vilnius Technical University. I have a technical question. I don't look forward to a faraway future. Your ambitions, Minister, are very good for renewables, but what is the government policy for support? We now have the tariffs, the price tariffs that are going out of date, feed-in tariffs. So what are your proposals for the support to renewables that still is needed? Thank you for your question. I didn't specify in my speech, but the added capacity is oriented towards the present state situation. We know that renewables have to be supported through mechanisms that are nearest to the market without overpricing. Technology is improving. Bids and tenders will be announced. Every 6 months, the compatibility of prices will improve, we expect. After the energy strategy will be approved, and I talked about that, the Commissioner Vestager, without further ado, we will align that with the European Commission, and state support will be provided. We can already provide early report to the Commission. We have the figures. We will provide the Commission with a report, and we will align this to the support system. So we will get support from the EU if the strategy will be approved in the Seimas this year, or at least at the end of the next year. So if we approve the strategy, in a year's time, the first tenders will be announced. We will be oriented firstly and foremost towards wind energy, because solar energy is part of the minor energy producers, and the state support will not be promoted. We will promote rather borrowing, and a new stage of development of renewables will start either next year or in early 2019. This is what we expect. I have something to add. The general doctrine and the general policy is that the general sum in the tariff for support will not increase. This is the general policy. The support for the green energy in the tariff will not increase because support for some of renewables has been ended, but others can take on, follow suit. And the European Commission is now proposing the market design initiative, under which green energy will be integrated into the market on market-based rules without the subsidies, and subsidies should decrease. This is what I understand under the support. And the third message is that renewables are becoming cheaper due to the advancement of technology. Thank you.
Tadas
Navickas, the Lithuanian Wind Association. Minister, I have a question for you. You have good objectives for 2020, 2030, and 2050. And it is aligned with terms in office of the Seimas. But I know that the strategy is being revised every 5 years, and 2020 is not far ahead. we know that revision is foreseen for 2022. So we have some time between 2020 to 2023 when the new strategy, revised strategy, will be implemented. So what will happen between 2020 and 2023? It could be useful to implement those principles or formulate them, not in the main document, but at least secondary legislation. And as to the support, we can see that renewables, in terms of pricing, are nearing the market price, and soon we will not need subsidies. So the strategy should open the doors if that stage is reached for business initiatives, so that business initiatives could develop further without limitations. Thank you for your question. The strategy hopefully will be revised not every 5 years, but more frequently, because now we have a situation where we keep changing it very slowly. We had to revise it. The previous strategy was efficient until 2016, and now we have to revise it, and it takes time. So before we take on the projects, it takes time to revise the strategy. I understand that in 2022 the strategy will be revised, but this has to take into account the debate on the market design. As for interinstitutional coordination, both climate, environment, energy, transport, and agriculture are interrelated. The energy sector clearly necessitates a wider approach to coordination. In 2 years' perspective, therefore, we have to integrate climate and energy plans into the revised strategy. This will be a good opportunity to revise the strategy once again in view of the objectives that we can see, improve the objectives, the nearest objectives, so that the goals reply to the needs of the market and the needs of our lives. As for the flexibility of the mechanisms, the strategy aims at specifying the megawatts, the targets in terms of megawatts, so that we didn't need to wait for the renewable strategy, and so that we can move on to aligning and coordinating specific sums of support. But let me focus on that. The support should not be overwhelming, it should not be excessive. It should go along with market prices, and when renewables will be already in the market, we'll have to balance that. And the wind developers' responsibility is to balance. But operators' capacity had been ensured and has to be ensured. And for balancing, I'll repeat myself that you need to be proactive, and the approach to development of renewables should change. Operators should change that.
Thank you. My name is Joël Mechlaers. I'm representing Wind Europe. For those of you not familiar with Wind Europe, we're a trade association in Brussels, representing the entire wind energy supply chain. 450 companies, including Siemens Gamesa, GE, Vattenfall, E.ON, banks, R&D institutes. Thank you very much, Minister, and members of Parliament, for the leadership you have shown for the future, but also in the past years. In fact, we've noted Lithuania as the #1 in installing new capacity in 2016 when we look at the share of power generation. We fully concur with you on that. The wind potential for Lithuania, it takes many of the boxes of your energy strategy. Competitive energy, 2017 has been a breakthrough year for wind, with onshore wind prices in Germany of respectively 57.1 euro and later on in the year 42 euro, results of recent tenders. And the same in Spain, where onshore wind came in at 43 euro. For offshore, we've seen significant results, notably in Germany, where offshore wind farms built in 2024, 2025 can be operated without subsidies, but also earlier, for that decade, we see offshore wind farms that will get built in the UK, in the Netherlands, on prices close to 50 euro per megawatt hour. Energy security, another box that can be ticked. The load factors of wind turbines are significantly improving and will help you to generate more electricity domestically. The economic benefits, it was already mentioned, and maybe to share a little bit more about that. We see that of every million invested in the wind energy industry, 250,000 euros goes into other sectors. Electronic equipment, machinery, the cement sector, transport and logistics. And this can very well add to the industrial narrative that you also will set in the energy strategy. Following up on the excellent meeting my CEO had with you earlier this year, we exchanged a bit with OEMs, the turbine manufacturers, on the potential of creating economic benefits in the region. Now, obviously, turbine manufacturers cannot build a plant in every single country. I'm coming from the Netherlands, where none of the major turbine manufacturers have an establishment. Yet, there are a significant number of jobs is being created in the services industry, in the offshore operating industry. That having said, of course, when it comes to certain parts of the turbine towers, for example, it is not unrealistic to say, and turbine manufacturer could say, I will open up such a facility when the market volume is big enough. Normally, a tower factory produces around 100 towers per year, but obviously there are opportunities for exports, as the market will be growing in other Baltic countries and in the Nordics too. In that case, such a facility should be established in a port. I guess Klaipėda, if I pronounce that correctly, would be an excellent location for that. But how to attract investments going forward? I think the professor also already mentioned to that. We're a capital-intensive industry. Lowering the cost of finance is crucial to lower the cost of electricity, lower the cost for the taxpayer, for the energy consumer. Visibility over policies and revenue stabilization is key, and I think the visibility is absolutely there. We very much look forward to the discussions in the Parliament. On revenue stabilization, it was very good to hear that you're already looking into what the system will be in the next years. We very much see this year, I mentioned some of the results in the tenders, that a two-sided CFD gives very significant results in terms of cost reductions. It means that the risk is not just on the project developer, you share the risk as a society. And the incentive for that is that it lowers the cost. Putting all the risks on the project developer is fine, but it will mean that the cost of finance in the bank will be higher. It will mean a higher bill for taxpayers. So sharing the risk with society, offering a two-sided CFD is in our view the way forward. And this can be revenue neutral too. The two-sided CFD in the UK means that if the wholesale power price goes beyond the strike price, the developer will pay back the money to the state. In that case, it can be can be budget neutral. In last remark on how to attract investments, we very much see the importance of a provision in the clean energy package, the 3-year visibility over auctions. This allows the supply chain to prepare the investment cycle, to prepare the projects. We see this year that Spain, which has been absent from the wind power market for years, has come back this year with suddenly 4 gigawatts of wind. And it's not just the supply chain that is slightly worried about can we deliver it at competitive cost. It's even the Guardia Civil who is now being worried as they need to assist every blade that's being transported with a police bus. So the 3-year visibility is beneficial, not just for the supply chain, but I think also for TSOs, for DSOs, for other to plan ahead. This brings me to the clean energy package, which was already mentioned by Mr. Prankevicius. We're slightly worried, as Jan also said, about the dynamics in the Council as we speak, in particular on the governance proposal. We're going from something fairly simple, a national renewable energy target, that is going to be quite complex. A governance proposal that needs to make sure that all EU member states contribute to the 27%. And if we look at the recent Council text that will be discussed by attachés and ambassadors in Brussels, we see that the government's proposal will fall short of streamlining the reporting, the plans, and that it's not going to provide sufficient investment signals. With this watering down, we see the timeline slipping, and we're very worried that the industry needs to wait another 5 years to get sufficient investment signals from all EU member states. Obviously, we're very happy, again, that you, as Lithuania, are trying to provide that clear visibility to the industry, which is extremely helpful. My question here is how you, just to see what your views are, Minister, on how to turn this around and how you can help make your colleagues to follow the example you set here at home. Just one final remark, and I think we have more time to discuss this in more detail this afternoon on the point made on reliability. I think it's extremely relevant. It's something we've been saying since the 90s. TSO said, well, more than 5% of variable renewables, we can't make it. Later on, it was 10%, then it became 15, 20, 25%. We see now that a country like Denmark has, on average, a wind power penetration of 37% in a year. Now, of course, you could say Denmark, it's extremely well interconnected to the Netherlands, to Germany, Norway. We can also look at Portugal, which only in wind has already 25%, and they're struggling to have the proper links over the Pyrenees into France. But also Ireland, which is an island, has already 27% of wind power penetration, and they're still managing the grid. Obviously, key conditions here, interconnection, flexibility options, system-friendly wind. We see wind turbines being more digital, as being responsive with the grid, being able to offer ancillary services, demand-side flexibility. It will require a transformation of the energy system, and I look forward to our discussions this afternoon. I think just to say as Wind Europe that we stand ready to help you in the process to 2019-2025 in making sure a new Connecting Europe facility can help you and the Baltic colleagues in making sure there's sufficient interconnection. There is sufficient also local infrastructure, because flexibility of options will not require the big interconnection. It will require infrastructure regionally. And we stand ready to help you with that. I had a question to Mr. Prankevicius, which I'm afraid had left, but maybe we'll take that up in Brussels, because I was wondering to what extent Lithuania has been benefiting from EFSI, the so-called Juncker Fund for investments. We see it as a very good mechanism that has been able to cover some of the risk of big energy infrastructure progress, whether it's offshore wind, whether it's interconnection. We are very much hoping the Juncker Fund will continue into the 2020s, as it can help you also to build big infrastructure progress at competitive cost. I will stop here. Thank you very much again for having this event there. I'm looking forward to our discussions further today. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruel. I don't know, do you want to react on that?
Thank you for the proposals that you have made. We have many examples when technological progress and the reducing price of renewables have to be smartly combined with the state aid. The examples that you have provided are very valuable. Well, You hinted on the process in the Council. Our position is, well, we have discussed a lot of time the issues in informal energy councils. And for the third time running, major stimulus have not been demonstrated. So I would encourage everyone, and looking to the perspective, to agree as fast as possible on the management government system. Maybe there is a natural fear from the member states that the Council, controlled in some way by the European Commission, might adopt the system which would not be very good. Previously, we had obligations for individual member states, and it is only natural that there are fears from member states, but only by working together, by trying to find the compromise, we will be able to ensure a functioning system. It is very important to stress here that we have taken the right direction in choosing the right balance of indicators that we would provide to, that the member states would provide to the Commission, both on climate targets, transport targets, and so on. And I think that in the nearest future, during the Estonian presidency of the Council of the EU, we will reach a common approach, and this will be the essential point in drafting those plans for the member states. So from the Lithuanian perspective, we only support the system in general. Well, of course, there's always devil in the details. We have certain comments with regard to the system, but we want to ensure that the system is balanced in terms of responsibility of member states. So we welcome the determined step of the European Commission. We hope that we will be able to integrate not only our connections, but also to integrate our plans. And I have here in mind the compatibility of national plans. So these plans will serve as an incentive at a regional level to plan both the development and national policies. Thank you. I wanted to respond to one part of your speech when you talked about the technological progress and the potential of wind equipment. The information is very valuable for us because we have to disconnect from one system onto another. Unfortunately, we have not heard this information from our Lithuanian wind energy associations. I remember from our meeting with you half a year ago, you already talked about that. So, but I hope that someone would be able to explain that the wind energy can contribute to the reliability of the system. And only then the development of wind energy will be viewed differently, maybe not only in Lithuania, but in Latvia and Estonia, because we have to be integrated and synchronized with the continental European network, those three small systems. Vytautas Stasiūnas, Central Heating Provider Association. In his presentation, Minister of Energy talked about the success stories of central heating companies which transformed their fuel structure into the biomass. Currently, Lithuania burns approximately 1 million tons of biomass. The Lithuanian government drafted the action plan for the implementation of the national strategy. Municipalities and companies actually looked at those plans, and at the end of 2015, there are biofuel capacities in Lithuania amounting to 1,600 megawatts. We have managed to achieve this in cooperation with all the energy specialists, municipalities, and other experts. As the new national energy strategy is being drafted now and is due to be submitted to the Seimas, we have addressed the Minister of Energy, we have addressed the Parliament that it is high time to develop a new implementation plan so that all companies knew what they have to do. These plans and projects have to be adopted, they have to be approved, so that we could achieve the targets set in the national strategy. The minister has also mentioned that majority of housing stock in Lithuania have not been renovated yet, and majority of Lithuanian population live in old Soviet type buildings. We, as the provider of the central heating and the company which submits bills to the consumers, we address the ministry and the government with a request to provide the population with the financial support for the renovation of their central heating systems, I mean the central heating systems of an individual house. And this should be implemented within 4 to 5 years period in all Soviet-type houses. Thank you. Good morning, Vytautas Kisielius, Independent Heat Production Association. My question goes to the Minister of Energy. Well, in fact, I was very happy to listen to the presentation and the intentions of the Ministry of Energy on indiscriminating conditions for all market players in Lithuania. This is a very welcome step. And I have mentioned this because I represent independent heat producers, and I have to mention that the heating sector in Lithuania is facing a problem. As you may know, the feed-in tariffs of heat is not favorable to independent heat producers and might take them to bankruptcy. We should bear in mind that private capital is being pushed away from the market due to inactiveness of the state or improper activity of the state. So my question to the minister would be what concrete measures the Ministry of Energy could undertake in order to ensure indiscriminate conditions for independent heat producers. And we have to solve this problem before Margaret Steiger came to Lithuania with yet another bill for Lithuania, because we should not wait until our independent producers defend their rights at the European level. Thank you for the question. Maybe that was a proposal. I am grateful to Mr. Stasiūnas and to Mr. Kisielius. Your proposals are part of the measures plan. We have addressed these issues with the National Commission for Energy Control and Prices. We try to address those questions and to find best ways for the solution. We thought of changing certain methodology. when talking about the biomass sector for the central heating, well, yes, it was a success story. And as you have talked about the state aid for the individual heating system of individual houses, this is on our agenda. Now, as far as indiscriminate conditions, they will be deliberated a little bit later. Dear colleagues, we've been very productive. In order not to reduce our productivity, I'd like to invite everyone for a coffee outside this hall so that we could come back even more productive and to discuss on more issues. So I'd like to invite everyone to the ground floor. There is a cafe. If you cannot find them,